This is Dr. Kathryn Dao reporting for Room Now. I want to introduce you to an amazing man who was instrumental in making me into a rheumatologist when he accepted me into the UT Southwestern Fellowship Program almost 2 decades ago. Dr. David Karp was recently installed as our 84th American College of Rheumatology President. Dr. Karp, welcome and thank you for allowing me to ask you a lot of questions like I did during fellowship.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Kathryn. And yes, you were a great fellow, and I've followed your career since then. And you know, it is with great pleasure that we welcome you back to UT Southwestern about a year ago, and have you now on our faculty.
Thank you. Well, the first question I'm going to ask is something a lot of viewers want to know, but they're really ashamed to ask. What's the job of an ACR president in the event one of us wants to apply for the position in the future?
Well, the job of the ACR president has changed a little bit, just like all of our jobs have changed in the last year. If you asked me about this a year ago, I would say it's spending a lot of time in airport lounges and hotel meeting rooms. But now we're doing it like we're having this interview tonight. It's all on Zoom. But there's a lot of meetings. The executive committee, which consists of the president-elect, the secretary, the treasurer, and then the foundation president and president-elect, and the ARP president and president-elect, all get together typically on a monthly basis and talk about a lot of the sort of details that go on behind the scenes. I mean, a lot of people, think of the ACR as the annual meeting convergence that we just had. But there's a lot that goes on in between times. The committee updates, the work of the college, such as our guidelines or criteria, our collaborations with ULAR and ILAR and other organizations. So, there's a lot of that sort of minutia, if you will. It's just like running another business. You have to get together. And of course, we have our board of directors meetings that occur throughout the year, and the ACR president leads those. So it's kind of like being a division chief or a department chair, but for a much bigger group of people.
That's a lot of work. It's almost like when I was growing up, my dad went to work, but I never knew what he did. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So what are your goals for the college during your tenure?
Well, there are a couple of things, and thank you for, I saw you tweeted today because the rheumatologist article came out as well. So there have been, a number of things that we put in place this year that are not related to COVID, and we really do need to operationalize them and get them going. The first of which is that we have not taken a good look at how the ACR is organized, for almost 30 years. And just like any other business or organization, it's important to be self-reflective and make sure that you are organized in a way that meets the needs of your customers. And our customers are our members, the physicians and health professionals who make up our membership. And when I say organized, I'm talking about the volunteer committees as well as the staff in Atlanta that have been in place, things like our Committee on Training and Workforce and Education and Research. And those have served us remarkably well for the past 3 decades, and we've gotten a lot done. But we need to make sure that we are really organized in a way that's nimble and can allow us to take on new challenges throughout the year. So we have a committee, a governance task force that is now headed by Dr. Angus Worthing, who is, is a community practitioner from Washington, D.C., and Dr. Abby Abelson, who is the chair of rheumatology at the Cleveland Clinic. And the task force is about half community rheumatologists. So we want to be certain that we are meeting the needs of all of our members, not just the academicians who seem to have more time to volunteer for the ACR, but the community rheumatologists that make up such a big part of our membership. So they'll provide the board with some ideas in the spring, and we'll see where we go with that.
I love it. And I love the fact that you're always inclusive, whether it's from diversity in race or in sex or anything like that. And when I read the rheumatologist saying how you're going to tackle this, and I mean, I just think that this is something that we all need. And I'm just so glad that you're up to this challenge. Do you think there are other challenges that rheumatologists will encounter? And how is the ACR poised to help its members?
Well, the big elephant in the room, the one that's not going to go away for a while, I'm afraid, is COVID-19. And so, one of the challenges, a very specific challenge that rheumatologists are going to face, hopefully pretty soon, are questions from their patients. Dr. Dao, should I get vaccinated against COVID-19? And there are 5 vaccines. Which one should I take? So, the ACR has looked at this, and I don't know if you saw, but there was a call for volunteers in the last month to staff another couple of task forces or groups that'll work with our quality of care committee to look at, number one, vaccines in general, because we really don't have much guidance for vaccinating our patients other than for RA. And we want to try and expand that to lupus and other conditions where the vaccine advice is probably going to be close to the same, but might have some nuanced differences. And then, as I just mentioned, we'll have a group that'll include experts from infectious disease and other areas that will help us decide whether there is a difference between an RNA vaccine or a protein vaccine or an adenovirus vaccine for COVID-19, and which ones will we recommend to our patients? Will they work in our patients who are getting immunosuppressive medications? Will they be safe in somebody whose autoimmune disease might be triggered by a vaccination? So those are very important questions, and I think the ACR really needs to provide those answers to our patients and our members, because that's going to be upon us, maybe by the first of the year, and we're getting on top of that very soon. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a Herculean task for sure. And I mean, I was very impressed with how the ACR had communicated with its membership, and also like having these town halls. I mean, they were so helpful, and especially since we're so isolated where we are. Do you think that's going to continue, and especially just to give us some guidance with these vaccines?
Well, yes. I mean, I think as Ellen Gravelisi pointed out in her presidential address, the upside of COVID-19 is that it's taught us how to react very quickly and thoughtfully and intentionally, and how to be able to work at a distance. I mean, again, a year ago, if you told me we want to put together a task force, the first thing we would have done was looked at everybody's schedules and could we get people on an airplane and a hotel and book this and book that. And now it's just like, can we meet tomorrow night by Zoom? And yes, we can. So we can get a lot done quickly. And that's how we're going to be operating, I think, for the next year. I'm very hopeful that we could have some kind of meeting in San Francisco next year for Convergence. But, I'm not 100% optimistic. We'll have to see. But in the meantime, yes, we're going to be getting this information that's important to our members out via the channels that we have learned this past year.
That's great. And you had mentioned about next year's meeting. I mean, this has been like a one-of-a-kind experience, how the ACR had converged together with more than 16,000 people from around the world. I mean, I can only envision that future meetings, you can't eliminate the video and audio portion of this, because people who can't get to the meeting, have access to like some world-class research. I mean, is this something that we're going to look forward to, even though, maybe the world's opened up again?
Sure. So, it's again a little bit ironic, but the ACR leadership had been looking at how we deliver our education for over a year. We did what we normally do. We have had some consultants look at the educational offerings and give us some suggestions of things that we could do. And last February, the board met for the last time in real life. And one of the things we did was we passed our strategic plan for education, which included 3 years of building on what we did last year in Atlanta, and some of the innovations that we had, including therapy dogs at the meeting, but lots of things like the community hubs that we tried out last year. And one of the things that we suggested was that at the end of 3 years, we were going to try doing some virtual meetings. And that got flipped. And so everything was virtual this year. And I think what we'll see is a hybrid meeting in the future. You're right. We got a fantastic number of people from around the globe coming to our meeting this year. And we want to continue to provide that high quality educational experience to people who, whether it's somebody from a part of the world that is not rich in resources and can't get on an airplane and fly to the United States, or somebody who just doesn't have the time to come from Dallas, Texas, because they have a busy practice and wants to drop in and get the education that they need when they want it, where they want it, rather than having to book a flight in a hotel and spend 4 or 5 days away from their family. So I think we're going to continue to see virtual offerings as part of our meetings, hopefully as a hybrid meeting, because I just crave the networking and seeing my best friends in rheumatology at the meeting.
And you carry like 2 different hats, one as chief and basically running this whole fellowship program, huge program in Dallas, and then the other as now ACR president. I mean, many of our viewers are younger, they're fellows, and they want to be involved. So how can they be involved to kind of help with everything that the ACR has to offer and be a contributing member?
Well, I appreciate that, because we have a lot of people who want to volunteer, and we've over the years worried a bit about the fact that younger members and particularly women who unfortunately bear a lot of the jobs at home with childcare and the like, just can't take off for a weekend and go to a hotel and spend time at a committee meeting. And again, this is one of these virtues, if you will, of a pandemic, is it's taught us that we can have a lot of meetings at times when people can now don't have to get on an airplane and can spend 15 minutes here or a half an hour there, or part of a day, and actually give us some great ideas. And our governance task force is going to be thinking about some ways that we can improve that. So I would suggest that people just look at the offerings that the college has as far as volunteer offerings, and we are going to try and make things available to people that are maybe outside the normal committee structure, but would give somebody a chance to contribute their experience, their knowledge, their expertise to the greater good of the college, because there's just so much great experience within our college that we need to tap into that to become a better profession.
I agree. Now, the final question here, because I know you're a busy man. In the rheumatologist, you mentioned you're an inveterate cruciverbalist. Could you kind of tell me what that is?
Well, that's a clue. If you it's one of those things. If you have to look it up,
I read it as invertebrate instead of inveterate.
No, not that. No, I'm addicted to crossword puzzles, and I try and get the New York Times done every day if I can, and that's my relaxation, is sitting down with a good crossword puzzle. So
you listen to NPR, The Puzzle Master, too?
I did. That was always something to do on a Saturday morning. So yeah.
Awesome.
There are some NPR, some of my, in addition to Room Now, the other podcasts that I listen to are sometimes NPR, quiz shows, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Dr. Karp. I really appreciate you taking this time with me and with our viewers to get you to know you better. And so this is Dr. Kathryn Dao for Room Now. Follow me on Twitter at KDao2011.
Thank you, Kat.